is a key issue that has dominated the headlines for months, helped by a certain Alfred Agbeshi-Woyome. The continuing controversy about judgment debts and the millions we continue to lose to various individuals and organizations appear to be getting the needed attention of the powers that be. This week, Cabinet, we are told, issued some guidelines to check unbridled payment of so-called judgment debts. The Attorney General cannot, for example, unilaterally pay any judgment debt beyond 10 million cedis. But some have said this is too little, too late. We will examine that. Plus, we will also examine the controversial creation of 45 new constituencies by the Electoral Commission. The MPP has raised questions about the creation, while the NDC has largely endorsed it. Call it the politics of constituency creation. The parties will join me for an in-depth look at the issues. My name is Evans Mensah. I will shortly introduce my guest for tonight. But first, let's sample a bit of the Minority Caucus earlier this week.
Is it a question of the tail wagging the dog? Is the executive twisting the tail of the EC by creating districts and then the EC is forced to react? But if the EC doesn't come out and clarify why exactly you would want to create 45 constituencies, yes, representation is critical. Representation is important. But quality representation is key. Mr. George Abuaji, who is Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, is the candidate for Ahanta West. He's a politician, a candidate, and he's holding government office, and we are paying with taxpayers' money. Who is the head of the Ghana Tourist Authority? Is it Mr. Julius Debra? And is he the candidate for Suhum? Mr. President, as for Asiadu get here, we've given up on him. He is still sitting on the board. I wonder whether Ayarga has also paid for the tractors, the 10 tractors which were given to him in the corridor.
It is time we stood up and prayed to our Maker, because where Ghana is being driven towards, in fact, the unborn babies in our country are going to even suffer. I have never, ever in my life, as a politician, as a Ghanaian, experienced this. In fact, gargantuan, colossal, huge amount of corruption in our society before. I've never. And it's unprecedented.
Well, the majority NDC also had their say about some key issues of prime concern to them. Let's watch this excerpt.
Nana Akufo-Addo, the flag bearer of the NPP, issued a statement pretending to be wishing His Excellency the President well, when in actual fact he is not. The statement itself exposed him.
I hear even the statement is under contention.
He lied in the statement, and I'm not surprised, because this is the same person who sat on BBC Hard Talk and lied to the global community. He said that the whistleblower, as I talk to you, is in jail in Ghana. And everybody knows in this country that there is no any whistleblower in jail. Yet he said that they heard from His Excellency the President that he was going to the United States of America for medical treatment. When in actual fact, His Excellency the President never said he was going for medical treatment. A medical check and a medical treatment are not the same.
Is it the case that he doesn't know the difference between the two?
Not that he doesn't know. It was mischievous. Okay. You don't necessarily get sick before you go for medical check. We are told that at the age of 60, you need not less than 2 times medical check within a year. And I'm saying that His Excellency the President never said he was going for medical treatment. He said he was going for medical check. Even if you look at the statement issued and signed by Nana Akufo-Addo, at the end of the statement he said that we hope that the check will be something I can't quite remember. So it means that they knew what they were doing. It is a fact that Akufo-Addo, his father, who was once the governor of Ghana, he was flown, the president of Ghana, between the 1960s. Yeah. He was flown out of this country every 2 weeks for medical treatment.
This is history. And the debate has already started in the studios. With me to look at the issues today, my extreme left is Murtala Mohammed, NDC parliamentary candidate for Nantong. Also with me here to analyze the issues, John Boydu, Deputy Director of Communications, the NPP. Also is Abdullah Isahak, who is the Upper West Regional Secretary of the PNC. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Joint Caucus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our first issue on the menu is the Judgment Day Directive. And I'd like to start with you, Murtala. Some have said, and indeed a number of civil society groups have said, that this is too little, too late. Fair?
Well, everybody has the right. First and foremost, good evening to your viewers, and more especially the good people of Nanton constituency. I know they'll be watching. Thank God to multi-TV. I mean, you don't need to pay. The poor would also have access to, as long as you can buy, what do you call it? Is it
The Digibox.
The Digibox. So I think that every individual in this country has the right to criticize anything. Even giving birth to children, some people criticize it. Some people think that we shouldn't even be giving birth. That is the democratic right of those who want to do it. But as a person, and someone who is a realist in the sense that not in the ideological perspective of realism, but the fact that that in itself is good, we need to commend it. They are not saying that the measures are not good, but their concern is that we should have done this earlier. And I think that if people are raising concerns while we're doing it now, then they are telling us that Ghana is just static, that Ghana is now, and Ghana will never be. And therefore, if certain things are happening, we presume that those things wouldn't happen in future. And therefore, we shouldn't indeed institute measures that will prevent those things happening in future. I think that is a very good thing. This is a clear indication to everybody that this government is so concerned about the wealth of this nation. And the fact that unfortunate things are happening now over this judgment that we need to institute measures so that they don't happen again.
You think this will stop it? You said so that it will happen again. You think this particular measure will prevent
clearly judgment death certainly would forever be with us. And if we raise such questions, then we ask, now who caused the judgment deaths? Who caused what we are having today? The hypocritical position that have been taken by many so-called experts and pundits of governance has to do with the fact that they just look at the payment, but they are not looking at the very people who cause it. If you owe somebody, you must pay. And as long as we remain a developing nation, we certainly would have to owe institutions, individuals, and states who render some services to us one way or the other.
But not fraudulently.
Not fraudulently. I'm saying that we have to pay. And if you are paying something that ought to be paid legally. And I don't think that you tell me that judgment deaths are fraud. Judgment deaths are done everywhere, and every single government in this country has done that.
If you take the Attorney General's own case against Woyome, he's saying that the money was procured.
You are talking about specifics. If you want
That's an example.
I'm coming. If you wanted us to look at monies paid to Woyome, then we could look at
it's
it.
It's one of the judgment debts.
If you ask me a question and you want me to look at zero it into Woyome, then I will know that probably the topic is completely changing, which I wouldn't share with you.
It's judgment that generally.
I'm coming.
And you have a specific case to cite.
The question has to do with measures that government is putting in place to ensure that at least resources and monies of this nation are protected. And if you didn't listen to me very well, clearly it's a confirmation of the fact that government position is that monies should not be taken fraudulently. But I quickly said that we certainly would have judgment days with us all the time. Even the United States of America, they would also do have such. As long as we remain a developing nation, we would owe. And I agree with you in absolucy that indeed if we owe, we need to pay monies that are supposed to be paid legally, not just paying monies because we owe individuals. And I'm saying that is why we would have to ask several questions as to whose responsibility, how reckless was someone, how irresponsible was someone, that the debt that we have to pay today has piled up that, to the extent that the interest accrued to the debt has piled day in, day out. How much were we supposed to pay? And if certain individuals and governments had acted responsibly, I don't think we would have had this. But that is not to say that monies that are not supposed to be paid to individuals are paid to individuals. Government would ensure that, look, if you owe us or if we owe you money, we need to know that we actually owe you money and we need to pay that money. How are we paying it? And that is why government is instituting this. In the event of we owing, there should be measures such that the monies are not allowed to pile up to the gargantuan proportion as we have it today, that you have to pay. There should be some additional checks and balances as to how much Attorney General can authorize. Because this issue of judgment, more specifically, either WAUMI or CP, has to do with the fact that at which point in time, who had the authorization, why did any amount of money paid, was there any contract, there wasn't any contract. And I think that these are issues that are certainly unfolding. But if you want to look at it holistically, those measures are measures that we all ought to commend. And thank God that those who are raising these questions are not saying that the measures are not good, but they are saying that it's what?
They're not good enough.
Oh, but what is,
Because
good enough?
Because I want to return to my earlier question.
Yes.
This does not address the root cause of the problem. That's it. And that's the main concern.
No, it doesn't, but at least it also contributes in addressing. You can't have one solution to a problem of this magnitude. And that is why I made a point that as a developing nation, naturally we don't, I mean, our budget is about over 40% or about 40% donor funded. And certainly if you want to undertake a huge capital a developmental projects, certainly we would have to do them on loan basis, we would have to do them on some contractual basis. And if we are doing that, certainly we would have to pay based on how those monies are supposed to be paid. Failure to do so, then we would have cases like this. Mind you, this whole issue of the judgment debt is not an issue that is starting today. This nation has been paying judgment debt. There isn't any particular political party or government that ever ruled this country that can single out itself and say that I have never. But I agree with you. Are we paying the monies that we are supposed to be paid legally? Are we allowing certain individuals or group of persons to fraud the nation or fraudulently takes money from the nation? I think that that is the issue government is battling.
And that's where I want to bring in Mr. Boydu. This some will say let's applaud it. It's a good start.
A good start? I don't think so. For me, you see, this question about judgment debt should not be looked from what is happening now and be thinking that judgment debt is such a caricature that is bad in itself. Because hitherto, we've been paying judgment debt. Government goes into contractual relationship with other companies or individuals or organizations. Either government default or there's some problem with it. By the arrangement or the agreement or by whatever contractual relationship, there are clauses that says that if you renege on your responsibility or obligation, you pay so much. In some cases, you go for arbitration. In some cases, they even insist that, because some of them may not even trust our judicial system here, they will insist that you should go outside our jurisdiction, which are all explicitly stated. We are looking at judgment debt as if we only pay the debt. There are instances that we also receive judgment debts from other organizations, other institutions.
Judgment income.
Judgment income or receipts, you understand. What we are not doing very well, because I cannot imagine as a nation that we'll go into contractual relationship, especially with STX, and with all the things we gave away as a country, when by their own explanation, there was some boardroom, whatever. At the end of the day, they were not able to deliver. Have we forcefully, as a country, pushed for debts that we incurred, things that we gave out, the obligation that they were not fulfilled? You understand? For me, it is because of the gargantuan nature, and as we speak now, government itself is saying that government or the people of this country has been defrauded. Proper procedure. Government decided not to defend us. So our money, as we speak now, that's what government is saying. It is not about the level of payments. For instance, water bill. If you look at the details and the kind of things that went on, clearly, the people, one or two people sat together and decided to defraud this country, and they took the money away. There are other issues in the payment of judgment debt of recent times that is also of a bigger concern, but because the Woyome thing is so big, so much so that we've even neglected them. There are instances where monies are supposed to have been paid to individuals. They are saying that they've not collected anything. So you ask yourself, what was the procedure that was used for these payments to be made? You understand? For me, the directive, I don't know how far it can go and how legal it is, and to what extent is government going to even have the legal capacity to determine whether to pay or not to pay. Well, if it's about judgment debt, they've gone to court, it is legal, government have representation, we have our attorneys representing us, and it ended up that we must pay certain amounts. The only thing maybe if we don't have the money is to maybe negotiate for extended payment or terms and all that. Is that what government is asking for? That if it is below 10 billion, the Attorney General must go ahead and pay. If it is above up to 50 million, then that one should go to the president. If it is above 50 million, cabinet. The whole thing is murky. Because what is cabinet? Cabinet is just a group of people that president decides that let's meet for discussion. So at what point are we saying that for that matter, cabinet will decide on whether to pay or not to pay? What is the meaning of this? I basically think that it's knee-jerk reaction. Government, the Mills Mama administration have really, really disappointed us. For you in 3 years to pay more than $400 million of judgment debts, a country like Ghana, that recently in Parliament, they brought a loan agreement of $9 million, wanting to be given to banks, take banks through capacity building to learn how to give loans to farmers. $9 million. Our gas is being fled. How much did we need to do the gas projects? We have so much, we are in the haste to just dish out money to people. So it is not about judgment debt that is the problem. It is about the haste, the indecent haste at which our brothers and sisters decided to pay monies. Some of them, they are financiers, some of them, they are cronies, some of them, total neglect.
I see. Let me bring in, I would like, what does the PNC make about the debate currently? And looking at this directive, we've had the discussion already started. Some say, well, this is a good start. You just heard Boydie say, John Boydie say, well, how far will it go, really?
For us in the PNC, we think quite largely that judging from the state of the Ghanaian economy, judging from the kind of things that the people, the citizenry go through with regards to what resources are available, this particular issue of late with regards to judgment debts, it's really very, very unfortunate. If you look at the huge sums of money that ought to be paid to individuals and companies just as a result of the negligence of one or two or a certain group of people, then what it means is that we ought to be serious as a people. I am of the view quite strongly that if you trace the history of all of the judgment debts that we have paid, you would come to one conclusion, that it was probably as a result of the failure of one public servant or government official at one point in time or the other to do his or her work quite diligently, according to whatever contractual engagements the government had had or the state have had with such individuals or such institutions that take on the issue of the judgment debts. And so to that extent, I want us to be looking at how to ensure that the state in the first place reduces the manner in which it goes into some of these contractual.
How can we do that? If this directive is not enough, how can we do what you're saying? How can we execute such a thing?
Why? I know, and you would also know as well, that as public servants, as government officials, we are all bound by a certain code of conduct. And if you go and you know that you are supposed to serve the state in a certain capacity with regards to a certain contractual engagement that the government has with one person or an institution, you go there, do your work as expected, and ensure that you are bound by the terms and conditions of that particular contract. If you do that to the latter at the end of the day, nobody would have cause to bring any case against the government, to the extent that there would be a judgment against the government that would result in the government having to pay judgment debts. Let us look at this issue as a national kind of issue.
And if you negligently incur the judgment?
That means that we ought to let people, right, dance to the music. If you are responsible for the government incurring huge sums of judgment debts to the neglect of using the money in some other prudent or judicious use that would ensure that people are able to live quite a decent life as citizens of Ghana, then it means that you ought to face the music of your negligence or ineptitude. As simple as that. But when we look at it as though it was a political affair, who incurred much judgment debt, who has paid what judgment debt, it does not solve the issue. The issue should be, how are we going to ensure that we do not in the first place incur such judgments against government?
I'm sure Mutala wants to respond.
I've not.
We'll come round again.
Directive.
Yeah.
Now,
a
quick one on that particular directive. You see, I don't think this is the first time that you are having a directive from the presidency or from anybody. You understand? We know that there are clearly laid down procedure that people have to follow. As to whether the government has issued a directive or not, I am not convinced that that is the single most important way by which the government will be able to stem this particular issue in the bud. What people ought to be done is just to ensure that people do their work and do it well. We don't have to wait for these issues to crop up, then we are issuing directives.
I see.
First and foremost, I think that the issue of the directive, let me just address it quickly before I come to some of the interesting points my brother John Boydu made. This tells you that this government has vision. The government is not just looking at what is happening in Ghana today, but what will happen in Ghana tomorrow. And that occasioned such a particular directive or institution that government is trying to, an idea or a policy government is trying to institute to ensure that we don't have the occurrence. My brother is talking about that. You see, it is important when we are talking about judgment days. Let's look at the recklessness of a particular system or a government that led to that. I have a letter here written, and this letter was signed by no less a person, by Joe Gatti, the then Minister of Finance. This is his signature. And I would make this letter available to you, and I will read.
We would love to see
yes,
it.
and I will read. That tells you how reckless and how irresponsible the MPP government was, to the extent that we have this debt at hand. And let me just read. I can't read the entire, but I'll just read a portion. That, as you very well know, we have made it clear to CP that this claim, which comes to 23,145,903.76 euro, is totally unacceptable. Listen, totally unacceptable. Contractually, there is a legal basis for this claim. What a contradiction. In one breath, you say it's totally unacceptable, and in another breath, you say contractually, there is a legal basis for the claim. If I say that I'm making a claim from you, and you please, I would let you read it. Listen, let me finish.
Once you're done, you can pass it on.
Let me finish. I'll let him read it, and I will let him read it. You make a statement, this letter was written, and I'll tell you the day that this letter was written, and I want you to confirm to the viewers. This letter was written on the 25th of April, 2008, by Joe Gatti. And let me just finish. The most shocking aspect of it. Now, there is another, after several meetings between officials of this office and representative of CP agreed to accept 8 million euro for this claim. In considering whether or not this amount is reasonable, we have to take into account the cost of potential arbitration and also whether CP has a reasonable chance of success. We are in consultation with our external counsel and this matter, and will advise you in due course. If there are any clarification which you need, please do not hesitate to contact us. Respectfully yours, Joe Gatti, MP, Attorney General, and Minister for Justice. Again, I'm coming.
So
this is a letter that was written, so it means that even the debt that has been incurred, the debt was as a result of the recklessness of the MPP, which he was. He made another point, which is the striking aspect. And you compile and look at the interest. He himself stated, Joe Gatti. Meanwhile, we should be mindful of the fact that interest on the amount is rising daily. The principal that was awarded by the International Tribunal, it means that there was International Tribunal, was 24,617,524.86 euro. And interest was 8,828,405.50 euro. The interest which accrued daily is 8,575.93. Multiply it by 2 years, from 2006 to 2008. Interest of over 8,000, almost 9,000 daily. It tells you how reckless the MPP was. That is the point I'm making. You multiply the interest daily. This is not my statement. This is a statement of Joe Gatti. And I'm saying that multiply it. How many days do we have in 2 years? Please, let me just let your calculators do that. How many? We have 360 days in a year. Is that not it? Is that not it?
I mean, it's your government.
Multiply 360 times 2. And multiply that total number by 8,575.93 euro daily. It tells you how reckless this government was. Now, if you look at the calculation of the interest, government would have been paying over 600 million euro. Now, if government decided that we can't pay this, and look, mind you, government, the state, the nation, Ghana's assets were already tapped. And government would have been paying this. Then the Minister for Justice decided to negotiate. And as a result of that, the total amount of money which government was supposed to pay was 94 million euro. Out of the 94 million euro, another shocking revelation, Joe Garteg issued a warrant of 14 million euro to be paid.
And you have the evidence about that as well?
I am telling you, these people will sit here. I will make this thing available to you. These people, except that you tell me that I'm forging this signature and the information and the Minister of Attorney General and Justice. This is a statement. 8,575.
Can I get Mr. Boyd to respond now?
I want him to look at it first.
And let me quickly say that because we haven't had prior notice and because you didn't have a copy, we'll let that be your document until we authenticate. But if you want to respond to Mr. Boyd, kindly do that for me.
This is exactly what the NDC and its communicators did when the Wyoming issue cropped up. They just fingered one or two correspondence, then they started just moving and making noise about it.
And these communicators didn't say
allow him to respond because you need to take a quick break and we'll be right back. But I want you to respond to the issues raised in this document.
Are you okay now?
You can respond. You can respond.
Thank you. You are not. You can't correct me.
Oh, you are
allow him to respond. I mean, when you were speaking, he spoke quiet. He sat down quiet and listened to you.
Me, you can correct.
Mr. Boyd, you can go on. You can go on and respond to him.
Why?
I'm sorry. Proceed, boss.
So is that the reason why you did not check Wyoming's claim whether he has a contract or not, and you gave the 51 million?
Wyoming had a contract.
Wyoming had a contract.
Have you been following the proceedings? I think the gentleman is
Mr. Boyd, I thought you respond independently of engaging him so that then we can hear your response.
No, but he addressed me, so I would respond. Look, if you address me, I would respond.
Okay. Now he wants to make the substantive point.
I think that it's important that we keep this thing at a level that is agreeable to all.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you. You see, this is the same thing they did. Just brought a letter, an introduction letter, give it to Wyoming and his company to just go shopping, and he said it's a contract. This, as the days goes by, I don't even trust this letter in the first place. As the days go by, you understand, we'll get to know the responses from the responsible people who did that. But the fact of the matter is that this tells you there were negotiations going on. This tells you that at some point in time, there's a letter out there in 2008.
Let's return to our discussion now. Just before we went on that break, John Boyd was on the floor responding to a document that was produced by Mr.
I personally, like I said, it's just single out one document out of a lot, because there were a lot of negotiations, there were a lot of discussions, there were even arbitrations. There was a point in time where CP themselves wrote to government, begging government not to discontinue prosecuting its directors in Ghana, only for them to realize that the NDC is in power, NDC can be deceived, NDC can be defrauded. So they came in and negotiated with them and collected the money. Because we are not just looking at the debt. We are looking at their tax obligation to this country. For all these years they've executed jobs in this country, they've never paid tax. They've never. It was between the PNDC days that secretaries to government had the power to waive taxes. After the inception of the Fourth Republican Constitution, secretaries don't have that power. It is Parliament that waives taxes. They've never paid any tax to anybody. I'm saying that this is a country of ours, a country of going concern. This country is not dying today, it is not dying tomorrow. Irrespective of a change in government, we must have that ability to consult. If the NDC had been mindful, considering the colossal sums that have been presented to them as judgment debts, and even invited people who had dealt in some of these businesses and negotiation, we wouldn't be getting where we are. For government to be issuing directive, judgment debt that has been procured in court, now government will decide. Attorney General, look at the way that our previous Attorney General behaved in the Wyoming issue. When they've not even gone to court, she advised the Minister of Finance to pay. When the man decided to go to court, she decided not to represent this country because in her view, we have incurred the losses, so we must pay. When court of competent jurisdiction has decided that pay 1/3 of it with the rest of the 2 quarters, go finish the case. However the thing turns out, either he pays the money back to us with interest, or if we end up losing the case finally, we pay him. They decided to sit in the room and pay the money. So if you have an attorney general of such character, and with the current attorney general, from the doubts that are being raised about him, that he self-imposed an assassination on himself. So far, he has not been able to respond. You understand? If we have such characters, we are not lucky we have attorney generals that will behave the way some have behaved. Then we are doomed. $10 million Ghana cedis. You understand? If the person does not deserve 1 penny or 1 peso, what was the meaning of it?
Let me bring in...
So I'm saying that there's a need for more collaboration amongst ourselves. Government is a going concern. We must not be thinking that because I'm in power now. And I think one other thing that as a people we need to be looking at.
Quickly, so that I can move on to
about just rushing to court to defend. What caused the death is important.
The root cause.
Obviously.
Okay.
And we've not been doing that very well.
I'll give you the final say I would like on this. Final say so that we can move on to some other things.
Yes,
I mean, if I come to you on the next subject, then I'll give you your time. You can, but we'll move on to the next topic.
I may want to proceed from where John Bwedu actually ended, that we ought to seriously look at the root cause of judgment debts. Now, I thought that we're blanketly looking at this particular issue of the judgment debts that the government has incurred, especially in recent times. But going into the specifics, we would get to understand that there are certain names that have prominently come up with regards to whether government was supposed to pay, government was not supposed to pay, or the circumstances even under which in the first place government had to incur that particular judgment debt. So let us go and be looking at how we incurred the debts. How are we going to ensure that we do not incur more of the debts? And how would we also pay these debts without putting some kind of unnecessary pressure on our already pressurized economy? You understand? When we decide to use all our money in paying judgment debts, when there are other priority areas that ought to be tackled or looked at to ensure that people have a decent living, like I keep saying, then it means that fundamentally there's something wrong probably with the procedure we are going about it. Let us ensure that we do not even incur 1 penny of a judgment debt, not to talk about bringing out a directive that 10 million or below, let us pay 10 million or above, let us refer it to a certain quarters. I am not saying that the directive is not right, but I'm saying that why should we have to wait to incur the debts, then give our directives?
Okay.
When in actual fact, we know that any amount of money paid as judgment debt is to the detriment of bringing development to the people of Ghana.
Let's treat our next topic. And I know Mutala is burning with more ammunition than his sleeve.
I just want to
but we have to quickly move on because we have some 15 more minutes to wrap up here. And the key topic we wanted to do next was on the creation of the 45 new constituencies. The MPP, Mr. Bwedu, you've been complaining about this. You have a number of concerns regarding the creation. I've heard the minority that make a number of pronouncements on this, saying that maybe it could have been done in a more democratically favorable manner than it was done, and that the EC, some have said, were even pandering to the dictates of the government.
For me, you see, this thing about redemarcation or creation of constituencies has been on the table for some time now. We've been hearing it in the grapevine until we heard it finally from the commissioner. He said that his initial intention was to create 20 constituencies. But for government decision to create additional districts, he would have preferred to create only 20. But for what government has done, if he goes ahead to create 20, it is going to lead to a lot of problems and tension in this country. Because by government creation of the district, it means that A region like Volta region will have about 4 additional constituencies. Greater Accra will have 1. Northern region may not even have any at all and all that. I said they will also have 1.
Which one?
No, I mean...
Let me just go through for benefit of our listeners. Let me just go through for the benefit of our listeners. So this is what it is. The Ashanti region increased from 39 to 47. Volta region, 47, yes. Volta region increased from 22 to 26. The same as the Western region. Central region increased from 19 to 23. Eastern region increased by 5 more constituencies from 28 to 33. Whilst that of the Greater Accra region increased from 27 to 34. And I've heard there was a press conference earlier this week raising some questions about the Greater Accra figure. The Upper East, 2 more constituencies have been created, putting the figure at 15, with the figure for the Upper West region increasing by 1 from 10 to 11. The Northern region increased from 26 to 31, with the Bonahafo region also experienced an increase of 5 constituencies from 24 to 29.
The issue really is not about this region has been given 2 or 5 or 7. The issue is the basis for giving out the numbers you are giving. And from the electoral, the formula used. From the Electoral Commissioner's comments, he is saying that as per his plans, he was about to create only 20. But because government went before them to create districts, it means that if Electoral Commissioner goes by their decision to create 20, there will be clear gerrymandering in this country. So he's adding additional 25 to compensate for other regions.
In other words, their hands were forced.
What is the basis? Compensate for what? If you have a formula, you have a formula. Let me give you a little statistics. Look at an area like the Northern region, for instance. Because as per the formula, you are talking about the land mass and the population. You have Northern region that, for instance, have a total land mass of 27,175 square kilometers with a population of 2.479461. That's 2,479,461. Per the calculation, you are giving Northern region 31 seats. If you take a region like Eastern region with a total land mass of 7,698, lesser than the Northern region, with a population of 2,633,154, also lesser than the Northern region, you are giving Eastern region 33 constituencies.
Yeah. From where to 33? That's
what Eastern region increased by 5
look
more.
at what they have increased.
Eastern region increased by 5 more.
Don't take...
But that's not the point. You don't decide.
Allow him to make his analysis.
If you are using a formula, use a formula. It is not by where to where. It's possible even the previous arrangements were wrong.
Good.
It's possible the previous arrangements were wrong. You are talking about Northern region that have a bigger land mass and has a bigger population than the Eastern region.
So the point
you are giving Northern region 31, you are giving Eastern region 33. What was the basis of the calculation?
So you're challenging the basis?
I want to know, because as we speak now, if you are taking, for instance, if you take Greater Accra, you have a total land mass of 995 square kilometers with a population of 4.01 million, for instance. If you take Ashanti region, a total land mass of 9,417 with a population of 4.7, a little over 600,000 more in terms of population as against Greater Accra. You are giving Greater Accra, so far, you are giving Greater Accra 34, Ashanti region 47.
So
what basis are we using? Because if we don't do that very well, we'll end up creating constituencies.
I'd like to bounce it off our two panelists. You want to respond to the issues he raised about the creation of the constituencies?
Before I respond, I think that my friend was being unfair to Dr. Kumbo, that they raised question of credibility. Dr. Kumbo, and his basis is that because Dr. Kumbo hasn't responded. The same former Attorney General said that Dr. Park was his nephew in his statement. And Dr. Park Mada and the former Attorney General are not even of the same tribe. So if he can lie in his statement, if he makes a statement about Dr. Kumbo, why should Dr. Kumbo respond to it?
Who now?
The former Attorney General, Martin Amidu. Martin Amidu issued a statement and said that Dr. Park was his nephew. Dr. Park says my mother is not even the same tribe. So that's the point. So the other issue is that he's making a reference to a statement that CP, there's a correspondent, that CP was begging. I have a letter here, and once again, I'll read. No, briefly.
Because you're ceding part of your time on the constituency.
And your questions are also denying me from even proceeding. This is a letter dated 28th November 2007. Letter dated 28th November 2007. Overall settlements between CP and government of Ghana. This is further to our letter of please.
And as
can I finish?
You are taking away from the time we have left because you have 7 minutes.
These questions you are asking, you are even taking away my time. So you've given me the time, let me respond to it. That this is further to our letter even referenced 16th November 2007 on the issue thereof. We have been informed by Honorable Attorney General Joe Gatti then that your lawyers, contrary to our expectation, are still pursuing the matters which you have referred to the government of Ghana for mediation in the courts and elsewhere. To enable us focus on your request and act with the necessary dispatch, we would request you to suspend all proceedings in the New York court as well as any international arbitration signed by my lecturer, D.K. Osei, then Secretary to Cabinet. And you are telling me that CP was begging. Someone was begging CP.
You have 2 more minutes to
Government
wrap
was begging
and then
CP
I'll
to do
move
that.
to...
Now, my friend analysis of the point. He was not being fair to your viewers. He said that Electoral Commission has increased Eastern Region to 33, created 33, and Northern Region 31. That is not true. Electoral Commission has increased Eastern Region 5, Northern Region 5. Now, if you say 31, then you should be questioning what President Kufuor did in 2004. You should hold on, please. Please, you said they have created 33. You compared the population and the landmass, and the Northern Region has more population and more landmass than Eastern Region. Yet, Electoral Commission has created 33 in Eastern Region and 31. Do you know what he's trying to do? He's trying to incite the people of the North that despite the fact that you have more, can I finish? Despite the fact that you have more population and landmass, the Electoral Commission is favoring Eastern Region, which is not true. Eastern Region long before that had 28, and Northern Region had 26. You should be questioning what President Kufuor did in 2004. Now, if you are questioning the landmass, the same landmass, and I believe population, Northern Region even before, after the 2000 census, had more population than Eastern Region. Yet President Kufuor increased more seats in Eastern Region. What this Electoral Commission has done is that they've only increased Eastern Region 5 and Northern Region 5. So Northern Region, which has 26, has been increased to 31, 5 if you add. And Eastern Region that had 28, which was fraudulently increased by your government in 2004. Please,
that was the basis is fair.
So I'm saying that the Electoral Commission, the Electoral Commission has been, and again, I'm not a lawyer, Article 47 Clause 5. It's very clearly, the article says in the 1992 Constitution that any time at all that the Electoral Commission can increase or decrease. I'm not just quoting the article. But what it says is that can increase or decrease review constituencies, at least not less than 7 years, 7 to what do you call it, 10 years. The last review was done in 2004. It's more than...
And within 6 months after the
which one comes first? And I'm saying that the government of Ghana created more districts. Electoral Commission decided if he wanted to create 20. Government of Ghana has created more districts before the census. And therefore, Electoral Commission is doing what is mandated by the Constitution. Nothing illegal about it. I'm saying that Adenta, you people created a district at Adenta when they had only 5 assemblymen. It doesn't make sense. Because even if you look at the district assembly, the Act 462, if you look at the number of MPs, assemblymen that you have, 5, even the 30% of government appointment, how many are they going to be? Yet you created assembly there. Government hasn't done anything wrong. Electoral Commission hasn't done anything wrong. The Constitution says that which one comes first? The Electoral Commission will create.
Simply executing the constitutional mandate.
How many constituencies did the EC want to create in 2004 when you created more districts? And it was occasion that they had to create 30. What are you talking about?
I would like, what's the PNC's position on the creation? Because indeed it
what he doesn't understand is that in 2004,
let's refer to the PNC.
Commission created the constitution.
I get that point, but I want to bring the PNC.
No, it doesn't matter.
Let's refer to the PNC and bring out the line. I was like, can you wrap up for us on this? This definitely affects all of us. What's the position of the PNC on the creation? Good or bad?
Of course it does. What ought to be done, what ought to be understood is the fact that as politicians, the creation of constituencies ought to be of optimum concern to all of us. Now, we need to state emphatically that the Electoral Commission has been given that particular mandate to exercise it, albeit with regards to certain modalities and to standard procedure. And so, with the recent uproar that has greeted the Electoral Commission's creation of the 45 new constituencies, what once more we must be doing as a people, devoid of any kind of partisanship, is to sit down and say, look, the modalities or the as they call it, the formula,
we must know.
As it pertains now, is not not up to scratch. There are certain things that have been fine-tuned about the formula, so that in future we do have.
But he's on the floor. He's on the floor, please.
So that in future, the Electoral Commission does not come to create any more districts, and it is greeted with this kind of discontent once more. Let us as a people always look at how we're going to fine-tune our structures and our system to ensure that we have a nearly perfect system that would be agreeable to every political player as much as possible, so that we're able to build and nurture our democracy as we all want to see.
Let me
30 seconds.
let me
30 seconds.
As we speak now, 6 months to elections. Even these distributions that has been done, we don't know which constituencies we are talking about. We don't.
We don't. I'm sure the Electoral Commission will handle it when we get to the break. We will certainly cross it. And I want to say,
you should know you have IPAC, you have
we just
IPAC has not been told.
came to the
They've
end
not
of the
even taken a
program.
decision on it.
If the NPP is saying that the government has messed up the country, if you are so confident of winning, whether they created 100 constituencies, you should be happy.
I appreciate the enthusiasm
Just
with
how
which you
you
address
stand
the issues.
because you know
But
that
you know what
this is what we have to know. This is what we have to
Oh,
draw.
you know.
That's why we have to draw the curtains.
You just speak because you want
This is what we have to draw the
You
curtains.
understand politics. Because you guys are
communication.
like Jefferson Saki and Israeli hiding behind Joy FM to push their MPP agenda. You listen. Look, I'm a fan of Joy FM. I listen to Joy FM, to be very honest, than any other FM station. And these people have never hidden their MPP's agenda. They hide behind Joy FM to push that people should pray for His Excellency the President, when in actual fact he's not going for treatment. I think that people must get this, and they are pushing that agenda. You know why? Was it on Monday or Tuesday? You had Napo, who was on Good Morning Ghana, saying that the president wasn't well. The president was in a deep, long slumber. This was the beginning of that agenda. They are trying to push an agenda that His Excellency the President is not well, and therefore he is not fit to be the President of the Republic of Ghana.
For once, they should have mercy upon Ghanaians. The only time in our political history that you need to buy sachet water before your child is operated on, Konfanochi and Kolebu. The only time a woman had to give birth outside the hospital is in the hospital, because there was no alternative power supply. And then you take this amount of money, and because they think propaganda and deception and lies can always let them consolidate power, they keep on doing this to Ghanaians. I'm begging Ghanaians, we should go on our knees and pray, because this is unprecedented in our political history. It's not just about this NDC, Jack, where are you project they are talking about. When you go to Tumu, they say, oh, Tumu, wait, go to Aflao. When you go to Aflao, they say, you take your time, go to Asamanka. In Asamanka, they say, you go to the cities. The projects are nowhere.
You know how I call that?